everyone. Scott Hansen here from NFL Red Zone. I hope you're checking out 1 hour of 5-Yard Rush, one of the best podcasts on NFL football in the UK.
What's happening, Rush Nation? Here we are getting ready for week 7, almost the halfway point of the fantasy regular season. And we're starting to know what our teams are like. They've got their identity. We know they're good teams, bad teams, work in progress teams, unlucky teams, lucky teams, and everything in between. So we're here to break down the Fantasy Football Bible. We're here to break down every single game. We'll do this in 2 parts. We do it every week. So we're going to get straight into it. Obviously, a lot of news this week with trades. And we've also gone through a lot of other bits and pieces with injuries and lots of things is always going on in the NFL. It is a crazy time. We also have the London games. The last London game is this week. So it's quite a heavy early slate. There's not much in the later slate. But we do have 2 Monday night games, the official one and then the unofficial one, which is later on. I've never seen a 2 a.m. kickoff game here in the UK. They're scheduled for that time, so that's a strange one for sure. So yeah, let's get into this. This is going to be the biggest one of the 2 parts, but we're gonna thrash through this. And get into as much context as we can about all the games. The other thing I'd say is with the rankings, people found some of the feedback I've had is that the rankings are great. People like to see them, but it is also a bit distracting with the talking, people scrabbling around when they're watching this on YouTube. And if you're listening to this in podcast form, this is also in video form. We're doing a big push on our YouTube channel, and I actually pull up the ranks. What I'm going to do this week is I'm going to talk through all the scenarios, and then actually we're going to cover off the ranks at the end, and I'll sort of bring them up as they are right now. And tomorrow's show, you might find there's some changes in there because we're waiting on quite a bit of news. So I'll go through each position and the ranks bit by bit, try and cover for the audio and the video. But do come and join us on the video. We'd really like to have you. And we're looking to grow that channel quite significantly so that, being honest, we can grow more revenue and we can give away more prizes. That's really the ultimate aim of it. Everything that we make here at 5-Yard Rush either pays for the equipment that we use and the subscriptions that we use, or it goes to prizes, and that is, or charity, and that is where all the money goes. It doesn't go in my pocket, doesn't go in Stocks' pocket or anyone else's pocket. We actually use this money to self-fund the operation, so we're not having to pay for anything ourselves, and then we give away a load of stuff as well. Right, let's talk about tonight's game. What's to say about tonight's game? It's Saints versus Broncos. The Broncos are favored by 3 points in this one. The over-under is set at 37. An absolute barn burner to get this started. No, I'm kidding. This is going to be a tough watch. The Broncos have been in 2 under 20-point games already this season, and this is a good chance that this could be the 3rd one. The Saints have no Rashid Shaheed, who could be out for the season. We're going to find that out, I reckon, in the next 24 hours as to whether or not he will even come back this season. Chris Olave's in the concussion protocol. He is out. He is done for this week at least. And so you've got Bub Means as the wide receiver 1. You've got no Derek Carr, so Spencer Rattler gets another start, and you've got Alvin Kamara. This is a really, really tough one. And then you've got a Broncos offense that has been pretty stagnant. It's had moments of flashes of goodness against the Buccaneers in particular. And I think against the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken, where they did put up 34 points. But, it has been a really, really difficult time for the Broncos on offense. And then you've got Courtland Sutton, who's going to get shadowed by Marshawn Lattimore. All in all, this game is going to be hard. It's going to be a hard watch. It's going to be hard to, I don't want to say call a winner, but I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game. And this is one of those times where the over-under's in the 30, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'd probably take the under. I don't expect both of these teams to put up a significant amount of points. And, those saying that, the Saints put up 27 against the Buccaneers, they did it in a really freakish, 8 minutes with turnovers and everything. You can't kind of legislate that to happen. They went scoreless in the other 3 quarters. of that game. So I expect this to be low scoring. I expect this to be a really difficult game for fantasy managers to really get anything out of. And in all formats, I'm sitting the quarterbacks this week. Bo Nix is at 23, which kind of makes him a head start in Superflex. But I think there might be better ones to go for that might have some upside this week. Spencer Rattler is my last ranked QB starting this week. He is at 30. The running backs for me are the best options here. Alvin Kamara is my running back 2 on the week. Javonte Williams, my running back 21. And it could go up from there unless they decide to utilize Jaleel McLaughlin because they're thinking, okay, well, this game's won and dusted. I don't think that will happen, but that is what will cap the upside. Javonte Williams is if the Broncos are miraculously up by 2 scores and they utilize the rest of the running backs here. As for the wide receivers in this game, I don't really have a lot of them highly ranked, as you can imagine. Highest ranked wide receiver is Cortland Sutton, who I think as a target monster is okay, but I'm not expecting many big plays. He's wide receiver 36. And then I have got Bub Means. Bub Means is an interesting one. I think it's a tough matchup. I do think he's someone who will be a target and he will get points. And that's why I've got him hovering around about wide receiver 48. I noticed a mistake earlier where I put him significantly lower, and I've just corrected that. So I do see him being like potentially a desperation play is how I recall him. I'm not eager to start him. I don't really want him. I see him being closer to 55 than 35 when it comes to the rankings, and maybe even lower than that. So I'm not really in there as well. And the same goes for the tight ends in this one. No need to start the tight ends. No Taysom Hill. He is listed as doubtful. He will be registered as out. And Juwan Johnson I don't want any part of here. So really, it's just down to the 2 running backs. I have the Denver Broncos as my DST1. I think they're a great play this week against a rookie quarterback on his second start with all those weapons out. But I also think the New Orleans Saints is a good play at 7. This is what reflects into the under. So I'm all there for that. And then as for the kickers, I mean, there's an argument that you could start the kickers here. But I'm probably not. I have both of them outside the top 20, so I'm probably fading the kickers this week. If you've got them, start them, but you don't need to get too excited about Lutz and Groupie this week. Right, now we move to the London game. Jags versus Patriots. Jags are favored by 5.5 points, which I don't understand at all. The over-under is set at 42.5. That I could probably buy a little bit more. I don't see the Jags winning this game at all, let alone with 5.5 point handicap. I watched the Jags. I was there on Sunday. They were awful. They honestly, there are so many players here that have given up. Not all of them. I don't think Trevor Lawrence has. I think I talked about this on Tuesday's flagship show. So I don't kind of want to rehash myself. But effectively, I think Christian Kirk has given up. I think that back end has given up. I think there's a lot of players on this team that know that a change is coming. And if the Jags lose this game, I fully expect Doug Peterson to lose his job. I fully expect him to lose his job. And so if he does lose his job, I think players might turn up for the second half of the season. But this season's going down the pan quickly. They were massively outmatched by the Bears in every department. I just don't see it. They'll probably have no Travis Etienne, and they look like they couldn't run the football. Tank Bigsby looked like he was running in treacle. I just don't see a pathway for this team to win a game that is set for an over and under 42.5, and they're favorites by 5.5 points. You're basically telling me they're going to win this game like 25 points to 22 or 27 points to 22. No, that's not right. 20, 25, 20, 26, 21. That's kind of what we're... No, let's do the maths right. It's this is awful maths. I'm normally pretty good at maths. So you're looking at what? 21, 16 is... No, that's not right either. You're looking at about 20... The over-under set, you're probably looking at what, 17, 23 points to 17, 24, 18, something like that is kind of what they're they're predicting. That's a bit better. That's a bit more in the range. So I don't see it. I just don't see the Jags scoring that many points. We got a garbage time touchdown last week, and then we've got the Patriots. And I know they haven't been very good on offense, but Drake May threw 3 touchdowns. He threw 2 interceptions. Yeah, there was a fumble, but in his first start, he looked pretty competent, and he looked like he could sling a deep ball, and it looked pretty. And the opposite side of the fence here is, even though this team is also 1-5, they look like they're in this. They look like they're trying. The effort is there. They're devoid of talent. They're not devoid of effort and passion and all those other intangibles. And so you look at this game on paper, and I 100% see that the Jags win this on by 5 or 6 points, given the talent. But the talent isn't turning up and doesn't want to be there. And so I look at the corners. This is one of the worst passing defenses in the NFL. Drake May, if he can sling this ball to Demario Douglas, to Jalen Polk, if Ramondre Stevenson can get a run on, I mean, DeAndre Swift looked pretty good on London. I definitely think that there's an opportunity here for the Patriots to win this game. So I'm not buying this at all. The over-under, probably, if I had to call it, I'd probably take the under, and I think that the Patriots, with their defense, will ground out a victory, and I could see this being like 18-14 or 17-14, something like that. That's kind of the realm that I see this. Both teams in the teens. The Patriots grab a really low functioning scoring victory. And so with that in mind, I have Trevor Lawrence at quarterback 18. I think I'm probably being generous, and I also think he is there more because of the names that are underneath him than above him. So I'm not overly confident on him. Drake May I have lower. I do think Drake May can produce something in this game, but I also need to see more games before I can consistently rank him higher than that. So I have Drake May actually above Trevor Lawrence, and I have him at 16, but I can't go any higher than that. I feel like I'm pretty high there as it is, and pretty uneven. Right, if we look at the running backs in this game, I do think there'll be this will be the hardest part of the game. I think neither team has a consistent runner. Ramondre Stevenson has looked good in parts. He is questionable whether or not he plays in this game, but I do think that he is probably the most talented back that will be in this game. I don't expect Travis Etienne at this moment to play, so I have him at the very bottom of my ranks. So he is not a factor when I look at these. Tank Bigsby, I have at 27. I don't think he ran. I didn't have lots of opportunities, but I didn't really see him do a good job. Dearness Johnson was the better back on Sunday, and I have him at running back 38. So I think running the football will be a problem for these teams. Moving on to the wide receivers here in this game, and again, I think it's going to be a little bit of a slog. The best wide receiver I have here is Brian Thomas. I have him at wide receiver 22. I do think he can make a big play, and I think he can score a touchdown, but I think it will be a tough one for them. The next one I have is Christian Kirk. I think he's given up, personally. I have him at wide receiver 52. Gabe Davis, wide receiver 57. Demario Douglas, wide receiver 60. Jalen Polk, wide receiver 77. I think it's just going to be a lot of supporting casts. I don't think you're going to see a huge stat line. And that's what's reflected in that score line of like a 17-14. I think Brian Thomas is going to be probably the leading stat guy. That's how I see this. But I actually think that the Patriots will grind out a team win. Hunter Henry, I've got at tight end 19, but he is a touchdown candidate in this game. Evan Ingram is my tight end 5 in this one. And then we go to the defenses here. And I have the New England Patriots at 10, and Jacksonville Jaguars at 13. I do think that they're both in play for some turnovers this week. And then the kickers, I'm not really fussed about the kickers here. Cam Little at 23, and Joey Sly at 19. So not kickers I'm too worried about in this one. Falcons, Seahawks. Falcons ticking along nicely. Seahawks, bit of discontent there and question marks over them. The Falcons are favored by 3. The over-under 51 is a huge over-under for this game. You can see it coming in, especially with the Seahawks defense not quite up to it right now. But what I will say is that this game probably won't have quite the amount of fantasy points as you would like in a game that's scheduled with an over and under 51. I do think that there might be a defensive score in here, or I do think there'll be some short fields in play here. And I actually think that the quarterback play will be fine, but not elite. I think the elite quarterbacks will be in other games. So I do think the running of the football will be important. I think both teams have a really strong running back core and with elite running backs for each team. And I think that will weigh into the fantasy points. So I think the fantasy points will be quite nicely distributed amongst the players in this game without there being a true elite performance. Geno Smith is my quarterback 10 and Kirk Cousins, my quarterback 15 this week. So both in the start range, absolutely. But again, that elite performance isn't quite there. Kenneth Walker's been on a tear. I talked about him quite a lot on Tuesday night. So I'm going to leave the analysis to that and go back and watch that video. He's my running back 4, Bijan Robinson, my running back 8 as it stands right now. Tyler Algier, by the way, flex play candidate, wide receiver, running back 33 this week. If we go to the receivers, I have Drake London at 9. He's putting together a couple of really good games, and he's got a really good matchup this week. So I really like his matchup. I see him putting in a top 12 performance. DK Metcalf is at 15. Jackson Smith and Jigba 28. Tyler Lockett at 40. Darnell Mooney all the way down at 46, which might shock some people, but he has a pretty horrible matchup. You can see that in my wide receiver cornerback column for Fantasy Pros. Just search Adam Murf Fantasy Pros or Murf Fantasy Pros, and you should find that column pretty easily. The tight ends, really, it's only Kyle Pitts and Noah Fant. Kyle Pitts is at 11. I'm just not convinced. It's not an elite performance one you need to worry about, but if you draft him, you're going to have to start him. Noah Fant all the way down at 22. Putting a good performance last week, but this is a harder defense to definitely get some points on. And then the DSTs in this one, as you imagine with the over-under being where it is, you probably want to stay a little bit away from this one. The Falcons are at 16, the Seahawks at 25. So I'm staying well away, but you can start the kickers. Koo is my kicker 1 this week. Jason Myers is down at 15. Bills, Titans. Bills, the heaviest favorite on the slate this week. They are favored by 9.5 points with the over-under at 41. I'm not taking 9.5 points on the Bills. They're not blowing out teams. They haven't blown out a team all season. Yeah, look, I expect them to win the football game. I 100% think that they will win this game. But by 9.5 points, I know the Titans haven't been great, but that's a massive disrespect to their defense, who have been really, really good this season. And they're not letting teams get away. So I'm not having 9.5 points in this game. Absolutely not. Over under a 41, I think that's also a little harsh. I think both teams will get into the 20s here, but I do think it will squeak over, but I don't think it's going to be a big blowout, like 60, 70-point game. But then famous last words here, watch that happen. Really, I expect the Bills to win this. I expect to win it reasonably comfortably, but not by 9.5 points. And so that's kind of reflecting my rankings. Josh Allen, quarterback 4 this week. I think we'll go back to seeing him having a really good week. Will Levis down at 25. He is carrying a questionable tag, but we can probably expect him to go in this one. James Cook was a last-ditch exit or waiver or sit in terms of he didn't play on Monday Night Football. Disappointing a lot of fantasy players and probably cost a lot of fantasy points and wins this week. But I do think, and I'm optimistic, he will play this week. I've Tony Pollard. I talked about how good he's been on Tuesday. He's my wide receiver 7 this week. James Cook, wide receiver 14. Cook is running back 14. Running back 7, running back 14. Cook is carrying a questionable tag, and that is one to keep an eye on. But I do expect him to line up this week. And the wide receivers in this game I have really, really low. I think, again, that supporting cast, a lot of people will get some points, but there won't be an elite performance. DeAndre Hopkins is my leading wide receiver in this game at wide receiver 44, followed by Calvin Ridley at 47. Shakir is at 53. Amari Cooper is at wide receiver 58. That's going to shock a lot of people. He's got a really difficult matchup against L'Jarius Sneed, who hasn't given away a lot of fantasy points this season. He's in a new environment, in a new team, with new players he's never played before, and he hadn't seen the playbook until Wednesday. That's a lot to ask for a wide receiver. So just I'm a little bit low on him this week. You probably feel like you have to start him in scenarios, but if you can afford to sit Amari Cooper, I would be doing that. Listen, talent can exceed talent, and talent can produce amazing things. And would it shock me that Amari Cooper put up a wide receiver 2 week this week and find the end zone? Not really. But I just, as I'm projecting this and I look at it and I have to make an opinion and a judgment, I find that more unlikely than likely. And that's where my rankings kind of produce. So listen, I'm not right on all of my rankings. You know, I make a judgment call. If I'm right 65% of the time, I'm going to hit it out of the park. That's a really good return. So, you know, I will get stuff wrong, and it is a judgment call. If your judgment call is different than mine, you should absolutely start Amari Cooper. I just think it's very, very difficult for a wide receiver to do 3 practices with a team with no one. He doesn't really know anyone in the team. He's never worked with a coaching staff before. He's never seen the playbook before. I think for a wide receiver, that's a really difficult thing to have to overcome. Whereas I have more hope for Davante Adams because he knows people in the building. He knows Aaron Rodgers. They've installed plays from the old Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams playbook in Green Bay. That's a different scenario. So I still don't expect Davante Adams, we'll get to the Jets later, to have a huge ceiling, but I do expect him to have a nicer floor. And that's reflected in my ranks because there's just more things going for him. We get to the tight ends in this one. Dalton Kincaid is carrying a questionable tag. He's 18 in my rankings right now. If I hear he's fully good to go, he might get a little nudge up here, but I'm probably not overconfident that he's going to deliver a huge performance. And Tennessee don't tend to use their tight ends all that often. So you can fade that one. As for the defense here, Buffalo Bills at 2. I do think they'll get some turnovers on Will Levis, who likes to turn the ball over. I have the Titans at 29 this week. Not a team I really want to get in on. Tyler Bass is at 12. You can feel pretty good about starting him as your kicker this week. Next game on the slate is Browns-Bengals. The Bengals are favored by 6, which again, I think is probably a little light. And the over-under set 41.5. Again, probably a little light, given that I think that they can overcome that quite easily. Look, there's no secret that the Browns are struggling. They haven't scored 20 points all season. Deshaun Watson doesn't look particularly good. I think it's a really difficult situation for the Browns. And I don't want to sit here and like pour gasoline on the fire, but the season's done. And it's a case of now, what are they playing for? Are they playing to work out what they do going forward? Is Kevin Stefanski playing Deshaun Watson because he feels he has to? Or he's going to lose his job? I don't know. I think it's a really difficult situation for the team. And I know someone very close to the Browns organization and follows the Browns, is really knowledgeable on this stuff. And I might actually schedule some time with him and record a show on the Browns, because I feel like I need to understand a little bit more about what's going on behind the scenes and where we can expect this team to look. And is there any light at the end of the tunnel? Because if you drafted a lot of Browns players, you're really struggling right now from an asset perspective. So we have the quarterback, and you know the Bengals are starting to turn a corner, starting to put some points up. So we can expect them to win this week and keep this faint playoff hope alive. Joe Burrow is my quarterback 8 this week. I think he'll be absolutely fine. If anything, I think what caps me from him is potential blowout and them just sort of running the football and maintaining it and sort of putting the brake on it a little bit. I have Deshaun Watson down at quarterback 26, and I actually thought he would have a good season. I have to massively take the L on that. It's not worked for him, and it doesn't look like it's going to work for him anytime soon. The running backs, Chase Brown is the guy. I talked about him on Tuesday. He is running back 16 in this one. Zach Moss is running back 39. I don't really know what to kind of do with the Cleveland backs, so I kind of have 3 of them together. I'm assuming Jerome Ford, he's questionable. He doesn't go. We know that Nick Chubb is good to go, but how much workload is he on account? We don't really know. Pierre Strong is my leading running back for the Browns. I have him at 43. Nick Chubb at 47, Deonta Foreman at 48. When there's more clarity, I probably will tidy that up a little bit, because I haven't got Ford. I've got him way down at the bottom of the ranks as a placeholder. But as not going. So I'm a bit unsure what they do with the Browns running game this week, and that's kind of reflecting my ranks, which is basically stay away from everybody. But someone's going to have to come out of the pack, so we'll need to see who does and how they do. As for the receivers, I've got Jamar Chase at 12 and T. Higgins at 14. They're definitely the two I think will be the leading receivers in this game. No surprise. And again, I think they can maybe cap each other's upside just a little bit, and I think they'll run the football, which is why I'm a little bit down at the back end of the wide receiver one conversation. Jerry Jeudy, leading Browns receiver, I have him at 38. Tough matchup this week. Elijah Moore, even tougher matchup. He's at 51 this week. I actually think that the ball, when they do throw it, will go to the tight end, David Njoku, which is why I have him at tight end 6. He is good to go. There's no designation on him. I fully expect him to have a good week. Don't need to worry about the tight end for Cincinnati. I've got Kazicki and all kind of cannibalize each other down at 28-29. Moving on to the DSTs, I have Cincinnati Bengals at 4. This, again, great matchup for them. I think they will do a really, really good job. The Browns down at 27. There's playmakers on that D, but I think the Bengals are just a little bit too polished and too good. Evan McPherson is my kicker for this week. You can start him. So very, very little to start from the Browns in this game at all. I'd almost say that it's just Njoku and maybe Jerry Jeudy and an absolute push. I don't think there's anyone else I really want to get any big exposure to at this stage. Right, let's talk about Packers and Texans. This is going to be an absolute great game. Packers are favored by 3. I don't know if I agree with that. Over under set 47.5. I think it will go over. I would say I think that the Texans are the better team, and I would expect the Texans to win this game. I think they've gotten more than enough. I look at the fact that I think their defense is better than the Packers D, and I think that is where I kind of sit. But I think this is going to be a brilliant game. This is one I'm really looking forward to watching on Game Pass and really making the most of it, because I think this could be one of the games of the season. It really is set up very, very well. I have these quarterbacks back to back in 6 and 7 in my ranks. Jordan Love at 6, CJ Stroud at 7. I think both of them are going to put up points in this game, and I really think that it is set up to be a really, really, really good game. Really balanced, backwards and forwards on offense. I'm excited. It's going to be great. Joe Mixon is my running back 10 this week. He has a questionable tag. Not surprising given his injury, but I think he'll be fine. Josh Jacobs is at 18. Again, I think he'll contribute. I think he'll have a role for sure in this one, and definitely a must start. But I'm a little bit more quiet on him this week, I think, just in terms of the Texans D. Right, Tank Dell is at 5, wide receiver 5 this week with no Nico Collins. He's going to be the guy in this offense for the coming weeks. Jaden Reed is at 11. Romeo Dobbs, Stephon Diggs at 16 and Romeo Dobbs at 21. I have 4 receivers in this game in the top 21 on my ranks, which is why I'm smashing the over. Romeo Dobbs has a really, really good matchup this week against Ross, the cornerback for Houston, and I think that's a matchup that can be exploited. Romeo Dobbs is really, really good in zone coverage. One of the best receivers in zone coverage. If you read my wide receiver cornerback column this week on Fantasy Pros, you'll see the numbers behind that. Go check that out. So a big believer in that one. Christian Watson's in there as well. He's flex worthy at 39. He carries a questionable tag, but I think he will be fine as well. If we go to the tight ends here, Tucker Kraft, he is carrying a questionable tag, but here's my tight end 8 and Dalton Schultz, tight end 12. Both of them definitely in the start worthy range this week. And then we look at the defenses here. I have the Packers at 12 and the Texans at 15, and I think that's just more down to the amount of work and tackles that will kind of force on Green Bay. I think they'll make probably more highlight worthy defensive plays, and they'll count in the box score, which is kind of why I have them above the Texans. But it's not to say that I think the Texans are the better defensive unit. Kaimi Fairbairn is the kicker 3 this week. Brandon McManus, who's the new kicker for the Packers, is my kicker 16 this week. Hard to tell how he's going to do after everything he's faced this season, and in terms of how up to speed he is. 3 games left in this window. Let's just double check that. Yep, 3 games left in this window. Right, so we got Colts, Dolphins. Colts favored by 3, over under 43.5. I genuinely review and think about games when I do rankings. And to be honest, this is one game I struggle with. I don't know if Anthony Richardson's going to be the quarterback this week. He should be if he's healthy. I can't see why you wouldn't start him, but Joe Flacco has been great, and that's nothing against Joe Flacco. For fantasy purposes, I would probably rather see Joe Flacco play than Anthony Richardson, but we are where we are. And because we don't know that, the pieces of the puzzle are really difficult to interweave and to work this one out. We know that the Miami Dolphins have been pretty awful on offense without Tua, but they've had a bye, and maybe they've had some time to get together and think about how they're going to do. Tyler Huntley, who wasn't on this team in the offseason, had no preseason, had no reps with this team, has probably had a bit of time now to sit down and work out with the coaches a playbook and some schemes that will work. I would like to think that Miami will be better after the bye, but you don't know. It's really, really difficult because on tape, if you had Richardson and Huntley and the way that they have played this season in the offenses that we have seen, this is going to be a real low-scoring game. But how healthy is Richardson? Is he ready to go? If it's Joe Flacco, it's a completely different game. And then we would like to think there's been some improvement from the Miami Dolphins. So an over-under 43.5 is fair. The Colts favored by 3 is fair. I think this is a fair line, but that doesn't really tell you the story of what this game is going to be. And so I find it really difficult to offer any real, and I'm just being brutally honest, I think it's really difficult to call this game as it stands right now. If we get some more news in the next sort of 24, 36 hours, then maybe it's time to review it a bit differently, and maybe I'll do a small write-up or a tiny video, or try and think of some medium, a voice note or something to kind of think about how I would do this. But where I'm at right now, Anthony Richardson is quarterback 20, Tyler Huntley quarterback 28. I think both have not really done the business this year, and you have to kind of analyze it on where they are as it stands right now, but this could all change. Jonathan Taylor is going to be my highest rated player in this game. He is running back 5. He does carry a questionable tag, but I do expect him to go. I have Devon Achane at 30, Raheem Mostert at 32. I think they cannibalize each other. Not feeling too confident about those guys as heavy starters this week. And then in terms of the wide receivers, we have Josh Downs at 24, but he's carrying a questionable tag. Tyreek Hill at 30, Michael Pittman at 37. Again, he carries a questionable tag. Jalen Waddle at 49. So again, not feeling many of these. The tight ends are irrelevant here. I think I've got Johnny Smith around about tight end 25, so don't need to play him this week. So it's the Ds, really. I've got the Colts DST at 8 and the Miami Dolphins DST at 24. So really, it's the Colts D will be one of the highest scoring in this game. And then I don't really have the kickers significantly high either. I have Jason Sanders at 22. I have Matt Gay at 17. I just not expect there to be points. I'm banking probably the under in this game, even though I think that's a fair line. I can see it going any which way, but yeah, probably the under, which is why I've got the rankings the way they have. Right, 2 more. Vikings, Lions. This will be a great game. Again, another one I'm really looking forward to seeing on Game Pass. Both of these two going really well in the North. Vikings undefeated, so the Vikings are favored by 1.5 points. The over/under set at 51. I think that's a you're undefeated, so we're going to give you the favorite tag in this game. But I think this is as true a 50-50 as any game in the NFL. I would say that the Lions have the better offense. I would say that the Vikings have the better defense. So it really is which one of those 2 units is going to break the other one down. That will determine that Lions offense versus Vikings defense is going to determine the outcome of this game. And I've got absolutely no doubt on that. Yeah, over under 51. Great. Lots of points. Think this will go really well for both teams here in this one. So I have Sam Darnold as my quarterback 12. Jared Goff as quarterback 13. Have him on the fringes. They've got a great supporting cast around them, and they've got great running back options in this game as well. So I think it will go everywhere, really. I have Aaron Jones tentatively back. I've got him in my ranks at 13, though he does have a questionable tag. We're waiting for an update on him. Jameer Gibbs at running back 17, David Montgomery at running back 19. I think that basically the Minnesota defense will nullify the big plays. I think that you'll look at them not cannibalizing each other. They've got very, very different skill sets and they run very, very differently. But for me, I look at those two players and think they will just be capped a little bit because of how good this defense has been. And so that's why I've got them. But both of them should still be started as a result. But it might take a big play or something special for them to really be in consideration for a running back 1 week. Justin Jefferson is my running back, my wide receiver 1 this week. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a great matchup. It's wide receiver 7 this week. Jameson Williams, wide receiver 17. Jordan Addison, which will shock a lot of people, is my wide receiver 23. He has a great matchup this week. Jalen Naylor is at 65. Is always a good bet for a touchdown if you're looking for an obscure touchdown bet. In terms of the tight ends this week, I still haven't put TJ Hawkinson. He's sitting at the bottom. He's on the questionable tag. He is eligible to return, but I'm not sure he is definitely going to return yet. Sam Laporta, I have at tight end 7. Obviously, if things change, where would I put TJ Hawkinson? I'd have to flirt him around about 12, just because I don't know if he's going to be on account. I would say if you've got TJ Hawkinson, because it's the tight end position, because it doesn't matter in the sense of there's not that many big gains on players, unless you have one of the top 5 guys, I'm probably playing TJ Hawkinson. So I just think he is that chaos player in this game where if he plays, he could be great. At the moment, I have him out of my rankings. I'm just not sure he is ready. I'm not 100% sold on that status yet, which is why he's sitting at the back of my rankings, but I will update as the week progresses. Minnesota, I have this the DST 19, Lions DST 21. Again, staying away from them in a high-scoring game. And then we've got the kickers. Will Reichard, kicker 5. Jake Bates, kicker 13 this week. So, again, both good options on this one. And then we move to the last game of the slate, last game of this this part 1. And it's Giants-Eagles, big divisional matchup. You would expect the Eagles to win this. They're only favored by 3, which I'm not buying. They're better than a 3-point favorite. I know that they haven't been brilliant, but they had no Brown. They had no Smith. They were a lot better last week with these players back. I think it's a little disrespectful that they're at 3, given that the Giants, they fight hard, but they've just lost Andrew Thomas to the season. Daniel Jones is, doing as well as he can. Malik Neighbors has missed a couple of games. Philly better than 3 all day long. I'll take the handicap on that one. Over under 43. I think that will trickle over as well. So I'm, for me, I see the Eagles winning it. I see it winning it fairly comfortably. I don't want to say blowout, but I do think they'll win it comfortably. Jalen Hurts is my quarterback 3 this week. Daniel Jones is my quarterback 11. Just with that rushing floor, he's getting like 40, 50 yards a game on the floor, on the ground. I think that's just enough, really, to keep him above a lot of other players. Saquon Barkley is my running back 3 this week. Devin Singletary, because I don't know the status, he's questionable. He missed last week. I've got him at 35, Tyron Tracy at 37. One of them will significantly vault up in my rankings. I just don't know who is going to be the lead back. Whoever is the lead back will move up into a running back 2 situation. So monitor that situation carefully. We move to the wide receivers in this game, and AJ Brown is a great matchup. He is at wide receiver 4. Malik Neighbors, I've got him as good to go because he's progressing through the concussion protocol. He is my quarterback 3, but just keep an eye on him. Just make sure he definitely clears it. But both of these guys will be good. Devontae Smith is my wide receiver 18. He has a tougher matchup this week. Don't be too surprised. I might even revise him down in my ranks, but I think just due to the injuries and situations of other games, I'm finding it hard to drop him much lower than that. I would say despite his difficult matchup, and there's better plays on the slate this week, he is someone I would still consider as a wide receiver 2 flex play. So it's going to be hard to drop him, but upon reviewing, I might move him down just a little bit in this one. As for the tight ends, Dallas Goedert, we don't know what the current status is, so I kind of have him out of my ranks. So I have Grant Calcaterra in and I've got him at Titan 24. So if there's no Goddard, I'm fading. If Goddard is available, fit and healthy, I'm playing him. I have the Eagles as DST 6. I have the New York Giants significantly lower at 23. And that means you can start Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott is a start at 11 this week, but I'm probably fading Greg Joseph. He is at 24. That's the slate. That's part one. I'm going to quickly pop up my rankings so that you've got them. And move myself on the screen so I'm not blocking too much of it. So I'm just going to go through and read off sort of the significant players, and then we'll do a breakdown tomorrow. Quarterbacks first, Lamar Jackson at 1, Jaden Daniels at 2, Jalen Hurts at 3, Josh Allen at 4, Baker Mayfield at 5, Jordan Love at 6, CJ Stroud at 7, Joe Burrow at 8, Brock Purdy at 9, Geno Smith at 10, Daniel Jones at 11, Sam Donald at 12, Jared Goff at 13, Kyler Murray 14th, Kirk Cousins at 15, and Drake May, Patrick Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence. I'm not going to read out like 100 names here because that's just really boring to listen to. So I'm going to do the top 12 and then show down the rest of the list. So if you want to see the rest of the rankings, jump onto the YouTube and watch this. Kyron Williams is running back 1, followed by Alvin Kamara, followed by Saquon Barkley. Kenneth Walker is at 4, Jonathan Taylor at 5, Derrick Henry at 6, Tony Pollard at 7, Bijan Robinson at 8, Chuba Hubbard at 9, Joe Mixon at 10, Breece Hall at 11, J.K. Dobbins is at 12. Here's the list from 13 to 30 on the screen. You can see that, again, quite a lot of these players have questionable tags. So there's going to be a lot of movement in these rankings in the next 24, 36 hours. And then, moving down from 31 to 48 here. Again, I've talked about that New York situation. Zach Moss is down here. He's someone I just have no confidence in going forward. And then also the same with the Cleveland situation. This will need to be updated. If I had to pick a sort of a punt player from here, I quite like Kimani Vidal and Dennis Johnson as well. Again, James Conner, the reason he's so low, he's against the Chargers. So that might shock some people. Right, wide receivers. Wide receiver 1 this week, Justin Jefferson, followed by Chris Godwin, followed by Malik Neighbors. AJ Brown is at 4, Tank Dell is at 5, Deontay Johnson at 6, Amon-Ra St. Brown at 7, Deebo Samuel at 8, Drake London at 9, Cooper Kupp at 10, Jaden Reed at 11, Jamar Chase at 12. I think Zay Flowers is a really good matchup, but he could move into that top 12. He's really, really close for me. I've talked about T. Higgins. Again, you'll see some of these players in here. Devonta Smith might move down a little bit, but I don't really know how much more I want to lower him when we're looking at some of the names here. Marvin Harrison Jr. is at 25. That might shock some people, but again, just against the D he's on. I have that situation with the Jets. I'm not quite sure what to do. So I have Adams and Wilson at 26 and 27 currently. I'll talk about that in tomorrow night's or tomorrow's video, not tomorrow night because it'll be done tomorrow morning. You can see the list that I'm moving through here. And I'll go down from 36 to 53. So you can see that on there. Pause it. Feel free to write down. These will change. You can also get all of these on our Patreon. That's patreon.com/5 yard rush. Right. Tight ends, Brock Bowers, George Kittle, Trey McBride are my top 3, followed by Travis Kelce, Evan Ingram, David Njoku, Sam Laporta, Tucker Kraft, Colby Parkinson, Zach Ertz at 10, Carl Pitts at 11, Dalton Schultz is at 12. There's the list from 13 to 30. Not that you need to really focus too much on all these. If you wanted some touchdown punts here, K. Dotton, Isaiah Likely, I think a good touchdown punts this week, as are Hunter Henry, as are Pat Freiermuth, as is potentially Tyler Conklin. They are my tight end touchdown punts for this week. Briefly going to cover the DSTs. I'm only going to do 1 to 12. You can see the screen to 18. You shouldn't be starting anyone outside of there. Denver Broncos are at 1. Buffalo Bills at 2. Pittsburgh Steelers at 3. Cincinnati Bengals at 4. New York Jets at 5, Philadelphia Eagles at 6, New Orleans at 7, Indianapolis Colts at 8, Los Angeles Chargers at 9, New England Patriots at 10, San Francisco 49ers even at 11, and the Green Bay Packers are my DST 12 this week. And then moving over to the kickers, Young Ho Koo, kicker 1, Austin Seibert, kicker 2, Cammy Fairbairn is at 3, Evan McPherson at 4, Will Reichard at 5, Harrison Butker at 6, Chase McLaughlin at 7, Chris Boswell at 8, Cameron Dicker at 9, Justin Tucker at 10, Jake Elliott at 11, Tyler Bass at 12, Jake Bates at 13. Again, you can see those. Reason Justin Tucker's down at 10, he's playing in a night game at Tampa. The weather is going to be really, really important in that one. So just where I currently have him is there, but there might be a revision once there's a better and more clear weather report for him, which is why he's that low. That's going to do it. Thank you very much for tuning in to part 1. Good luck tonight. Like I said, try not to start too many fantasy players tonight. There aren't too many that are fantasy relevant, but I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much. Maybe you've joined because you've seen the giveaway. If you haven't seen that we're doing a giveaway, you've not been listening all week, where have you been? We have a very special jersey given to us by Fanatics to give away. Feel free to check that out on our YouTube. It's YouTube only, not on the podcast. For the rest of you, have a really, really good week. Good luck in week 7. I'll be back tomorrow to do some start sits, the Fantasy Bible Part 2, and we'll go from there. But until then, Rush Nation, don't forget, as always, keep rushing.